Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to Roleplay Chat.
In this short video, we're going to talk about interrupts.
Yes, we are going to have a long discussion about this. My brain stopped there a second just for the order. We're going to have a long version about this next week. But for now, we'd like to tell you about just a distilled version of what we think interrupts are good for and how we use them.
And how we think you should use them. So we'll start with the definition, and then we'll give you guys 5 elements that when you're making interrupts, you should consider.
An interrupt is when the GM brings forward a situation or complication that redirects the party's focus. Often it is unplanned and forces the party to reassess their priorities. The main use of it is, I think, to control pace.
Mm-hmm. And to draw a quick distinction, this is not a random encounter. Random encounter tables have their role in role-playing games, but by nature, they're random. So there's a little bit less planning, and you can't really achieve the things that an interrupt can achieve if you use some of the 5 things we're going to mention in this video. Let's get right into it.
Yes, so we remove randomness to put purpose. Let's start maybe, so we have our definition, that's kind of our skeleton of like a basic one. Maybe we should start with the basics of a situation. So we'll go through an example as we add things, layers on it. So the example we came up with is you're on the docks talking to a captain of a ship, maybe haggling over the price of
like travel
or something like that. Maybe the players are taking forever. They're trying to push skills, and they're trying to do different things to get a better price. And at one point, as the game master, you have to make sure we move on. What can we do?
So what we're going to do is we're going to throw in an interrupt. The players hear further down the docks 2 men yelling at each other, screaming at each other. I'm going to get ya! How dare ya! And you look around to see these 2 men being held back by their friends. They're dressed in different uniforms. They're screaming profanities at one another. There's our interrupt.
That's an interrupt. That's the basic interrupt. Are they going to continue haggling because they don't care? Maybe not. Maybe there's going to be different things happening, but maybe they can go there, deal with it. So there's already like a certain level of complexity here, but we're going to go through our 5 things we consider when building that kind of interrupt and what we can actually add on it. So the first thing is to consider something that's related to the players, a player trigger. So it might be, if you're using DnD, ideals, bonds, flaws. If you're using a fate system like me, there's aspects. Or maybe it's about the skill they have or special magic spells they have. Something tailored to character.
Good job,
player.
Chris.
Thank you. I said tailored.
That the right way.
I always say it wrong. So how can we tailor this interrupt to our player?
So one thing that comes straight to mind to me is, what if one of the 2 people that's yelling, that's about to get into a fight, is related to a player character? Maybe it's their brother, let's say.
Yeah, so why is he here? He's in a fight. Are we...
I should go help him.
Yeah, so now it's harder to just avoid it and... and just continue haggling, right?
You could even have maybe the other person that they're fighting with is an NPC that they've met before, an NPC that they have a really good relationship with. So now you have this dichotomy, brother, friend, who do I help? It adds these layers of complexity that makes them want to interact, makes them want to stop this from happening maybe, or assist one of the 2.
Yeah, so that's one example.
The next element that we're going to try to consider when we're planning this interrupt is to think of ways to make it consequential. You know, you don't just want this to be happening in a vacuum, an isolated instance. How can we give the players a reward if they succeed? Or how can we punish them, not too severely, but you know, have some kind of consequence if they don't come to interact with this interrupt?
And depending on how your interrupt is built, like right away in our example, if you build it so there's your brother and another NPC ally of yours, then whoever you choose, you're making an enemy out of the other one. So already there's consequences there. Maybe the captain turns to you and says, if you, because these are my men, maybe it's just your brother, okay, and the other one is whoever. Maybe he says something like, "These are my men. Make sure nobody gets hurt, and I'll give you a price. I'll give you a better price, a discount. The discount they've been haggling for 20, 30 minutes. Maybe let's hope not 30 minutes.
Not that long. Sheesh.
But yeah, so then you're like, okay, I have a reward. I'm going there to help my brother, but also if I manage to not have a fight, then
there's a really nice reward waiting for me. Yeah. Awesome. What's our next element, Chris?
The next one is to do lore and exposition. So it's a good using interrupt can be a good way to put lore and exposition into it.
I love using interrupts in this way. In our example, maybe the captain talks to you. He hears the scream and he goes, "Oh, not again. Those red snappers. That gang is always after my men. What are they doing coming down to the south docks? They know that that's our territory." Boom. Now the interrupt has so much more context.
Yeah.
It provides all these details about maybe there's a turf war going on that the players don't know about. Maybe this red snappers faction is the first time they hear about them. So now they start asking themselves these questions.
Yeah, it adds so much flavor, and also you can tie it to the consequences. Now, if they oppose the red snappers, maybe the gang, let's say it's a gang, can come up later in another interrupt. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here, because these layers that we add, it's good to consider, like the 5 aspects we were talking about are kind of intertwined sometimes.
Yeah, they kind of, one makes the other happen. Sometimes you only ever really need one. You don't need them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, the next one.
The next one is using the interrupt to really change the pace to the point where you're changing the pillar that you're currently playing in. In Dungeons & Dragons, and in a lot of role-playing games, there are several pillars. The 3 main ones in Dungeons & Dragons that you might already be familiar with are roleplay, combat, and exploration. So in this example, Chris, I don't know if you want to walk us through it.
Yeah, sure. So it's already a bit, again...
It's kind of clear.
It's kind of clear. You're having your social encounter. You're talking to a captain. And then the situation happens. Maybe they can deal with it with a fight. So you're switching from social to combat. Mm-hmm. Or maybe if we do the example where the captain offers you money to deal with it without combat, maybe it can be, again, you're not changing pillar in that situation, but you're still changing the pace, right?
Yeah.
It could also...
maybe you weren't talking to the captain at all. You're exploring, and now you see this fight. Boom.
Yeah.
Exploring to roleplay.
If I want to do social thing to exploration, maybe the captain, instead of this fight, the captain tells you, someone comes to the captain and says something in his ear, and it's like, oh, damn. And the captain turns to you, he's like, we're looking for someone to go on the west side where the red snappers are. There seems to be some kind of conflict, and then you have to go over there, and that becomes the exploration, and maybe retrieve something or whatever, right? You can give a little side quest as short as you want, as long as you want, that changes the pace from social to exploration.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest strengths, honestly, of interrupts. So awesome. Let's go into the last one now. Our last element for consideration is how to mix interrupts with seeding. Now, before we get into it, super one-line explanation. What is seeding, Chris?
Seeding is when you put something in the story that you don't know why it's there yet, but might use later.
Awesome. So, we might have another video later about seeding, but for now, that's all you really need to know. And an interrupt, to me, sounds like an amazing opportunity to do this. Just in the example we've been giving, we're talking about the red snappers and the south docks and north docks and the turf war. These are all things that if they're the first time the players have ever heard of, they are seeds. You've just seeded all these things. Maybe they're never going to come back up.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you planned this 3 months ago and you know exactly what's going on, but in terms of seeding, is you just came up with red snappers. You have no idea. But then after that, you can use it later in an interrupt in an interesting way. You can even use an interrupt to seed, to put that information there, like we're talking about,
or to reap it from another time. it's so versatile. It's amazing.
They really go well together. Seeding can be used in a lot of different ways, but it really goes well together because interrupt have kind of yes, they have a purpose. You can plan parts of it, but also they're really good for improvisation, controlling the pace.
They have an optional nature to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which seeding tends to complement very well.
Yeah, so you can put something really improvised that is seeding, and interrupt is kind of like the package where you bring that forward or you use it.
So I hope you guys really enjoyed those 5 things for consideration with regards to interrupts. Hopefully we've taught you something, and we challenge you to try to use these things in the next interrupt you create. Please let us know how it goes in the comment section below.
If you have any question, you can obviously comment below, or you can email us at contactroleplaychat@gmail.com.
Yeah, we also have a Twitter account. You can reach us there at roll_play_chat. And that is everything for today's video, Chris.
That's all, Matt.
Let's call it a chat.